Good morning. Good morning to all of you brave souls that have shed the turkey and come to our special meeting this morning. This is a City Council special workshop. Today is Tuesday, November the 28th, 2023. It is 10 a.m. and we are in the community wing of City Hall. I would ask that you all please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. Following the pledge, you are welcome to remain standing for a moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or pause for a moment. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And thank you to City Council members. This was a special workshop that I called. I'll explain why when we get started, but I appreciate your ability to all get here today. We do appreciate that very, very much. And with that, I would ask the clerk to call us the roll, please.
Mayor Alfin.
Here.
Vice Mayor Danko.
Here.
Councilmember Hyder.
Present.
Councilmember Clufus.
Present.
Councilmember Pontieri.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, as is customary, we'll start with public participation in order for the city staff to be able to respond to your questions or concerns. Please fill out a comment card with your contact information. The comment cards can be found on the table near the agendas or available from the communications marketing director seated in the back. Anyone wishing to speak may approach the podium, provide their name, and may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please direct all comments to the mayor, be concise and to the point, avoid delaying or interrupting the proceedings, and do not make any irrelevant, impertinent, or slanderous comments. Any person who becomes disorderly may be barred from making any additional comments and may be removed. So with that, I would invite the first speaker to come to the podium, please.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. I have emailed you all, so you're aware of why I'm here to speak, and I've included pictures for everyone this morning.
So did you just introduce your name so we get it for the record?
Lisa Milam,
Mike, thank you.
M-I-L-A-M.
Okay.
My property has been a progression of flooding to the point that with the last tornado, I was out in the pouring down rain for over 4 hours trying to keep water out of my lanai, out of my pool. I had neighbors running out to get flood barriers, and with the help of them, we were able to keep it out of the pool, but we were literally pumping water for over 8 hours. When you look at the photos, you can see that there is a building next door to me. It's bone dry. The house on the other side of her, the water was up to her steps. The new build on the other side of her, completely dry. Over the course of the 21 months that I've owned this house, my yard has been a complete erosion. I am in a contract with True Green trying to make my yard look nice because I take care of my property, and I'm just throwing money away because every time it floods, I lose grass, and my property is now going this way. I have a lot beside me that just went up for sale, and it scares me to death of what's going to happen to my property when that happens. I'm a disabled vet. There is no way that the VA would approve my loan knowing that it flooded the way that it floods. I feel like I did my due diligence when I bought the property. I did every inspection that I could possibly do. This was never brought to my attention, and I've spoken with the owner next door who's building his house, who's been building his house for over 21 months. He started clearing it at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And he would go in and pull out some clearing, go back a while later, pull out some more clearing. It was a progression of this, and he's still building his house. I've spoken to all the neighbors in my neighborhood, some that have been here since 2009, 2010, and they all tell me this yard did not flood before. I mean, they are in shock that when you look at the pictures, I'm standing in a pond, and not through my own. I didn't do this, and I feel like the city needs to do something to help me rectify this issue. I will tell you that on the way out the door this morning, I did have a call from the city saying that someone would come look at my property tomorrow, and I do appreciate that. So thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next speaker, please. Yes, sir. And you did a comment card for us, right? You have that. You did do a comment card for us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Sokola. I live at 91 Fort Caroline Lane, Palm Coast. As you know, living in Florida, we deal with natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding. I'm going to introduce you to an unnatural disaster. It's called an unscrupulous builder. I've had a house being built in the past 6 weeks behind me, and now I'm experiencing flooding in my backyard. My house has been there since 2003. I never had flooding before. Wiped out a pool pump already, and it has shrunk a 6-foot fence down to 2 feet. That's how high the house is. I approximated at 6 feet above grade. The unscrupulous builders who cannot assimilate into the neighborhood should be stopped. This is Estella Living LLC. The reason would be any new builder that comes into town, you can establish a bond with them in case they do damage any new builder, because all the builders that are already established in this town have moral standards and scruples. This man has done this for only one reason that I could see, is curb appeal. If he had to post a bond, he wouldn't pull this. And I would appreciate that the town puts a stop to this, because what happens next? I have to raise my ground, I have to raise my fence. If somebody builds next door, they're gonna raise the house higher than his house, and it's a never-ending cycle. And it should be stopped one way or the other. The only way I could think of is make any new builder post a bond. And actually, any contractor that comes into town, like the internet companies that were digging, and they were busting water mains and busting sidewalks, make them post a bond, and they'll be a little more careful. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Sorry, I apologize, Mayor. May we have your address again?
He's got it on the comment card.
It is on the comment card. Perfect. Thank you.
Is there another member of the public that would like to address me, City Council, at this time? Come on up.
Celia Puglisi, Palm Coast, living here since 1991. I have never experienced anywhere around Palm Coast what these people is suffering, our neighbors are enduring. How our community development and our building department, I don't know if they're under some director, approve this new building so high in Palm Coast with the excuse that, it doesn't say nothing about how high they can get. It's common sense, sir. We have total inefficacy on the bad service from the departments on the city under our manager, which is building, especially community development. How could you ever approve these things? We have hundreds of residents with these problems. I live in Matanzas Woods when there was no ever this type of flooding. These people are enduring, and you need to resolve this. It's easily resolved by installing pipes in both sides of the house by the builder and in the back towards the front for the discard of the water when it rains and it doesn't stay on the neighbors. We need to help these people. It hasn't been done anything yet except studying. I really resent that our mayor and council relays on the wrong advice, decisions of the city manager, the city engineering, the city planner and the city, especially community development. This is all geared to help developers on the backs of us existing residents. This needs to stop because it's common sense. I know what a grade is. I'm an old lady and I can see the grade. I fixed the grade in my own house when I bought it because the one next door was built 1 foot higher. You see, I did it. It's very costly to pay for it. I did it myself. But these people should be, it's worse for them because these houses are higher now. We have a responsibility, and we have the responsibility to change our staff in this city, which is highly overpaid and is not working for any of the existing residents. I'm asking you, please, for 2024, let's change the administrators responsible for this disaster. I do have on me a new application for a 5G tower, 150 feet from homes on number 7 Clubhouse Drive, that I need this council to take away because it was not in the original plan of 2018, and it's just vindictive from these administrators that we defeated inside the golf course, and they go and bring a few feet outside the golf course. So please help us.
Thank you
Do
for
not
your-
rely on them.
Thank you for your comment. Is there another speaker that would like to address City Council? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm
morning.
here to ask this panel
Please,
several...
just introduce yourself for
Oh,
us. so we have-
sorry.
yeah.
My name is Mara Worth. I live on 96 Birchwood Drive. So today, I'm here to ask this panel several questions regarding the flooding situation in our city. What has been done about coming up with new regulations regarding height elevation for new construction? My other question is, who compromises this task force that's supposedly going to look into creating a plan to address existing flood issues? And the fee that we pay every month for $25 that's paid to apparently storm water by every homeowner in the city, what exactly is that for? And what do we get for it? As of today, I have been in this crusade for a month and a half now, and have not seen anything or heard anything that something has been done to resolve this issue. While Stormwater is still trying to get their act together, construction of these high elevated homes continue. People in this city have lost faith in its leaders to protect them and their property. We definitely don't trust Stormwater. What are the citizens supposed to do to get the protection and services that they pay for? The other thing I want to bring up is that the builder, Estella Living's representative, during a meeting on 98 Birchwood Drive, made promises and reassurances that a legal document will be drawn up to assure myself and my neighbor, Mr. Fink, who lives on the other side of this new home that's being built, that there will be no flooding. And if there is, that the builder will be financially responsible for fixing the damages. These reassurances and guarantees were made in front of some council members, city officials and workers, the media, and the residents. That was more than 3 weeks ago. Well, we have not heard from them at all, not one peep. Builders probably feel that they don't have to do anything because of the regulations that are in place, which is to the disadvantage of the homeowners. So, because of this, I asked the panel to allow the inclusion of several of its constituents or homeowners to take part in this task force. This will give us, the homeowners, a voice in this discussion and have somebody truly represent our agenda. This will allow transparency, and with that, we will know if things are in fact getting done to alleviate the flooding problems, and that this department is finally looking out for our best interest and welfare.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else want to address City Council? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Candace Stevens. I live at 165 Point Pleasant Drive. I wasn't going to speak today, but after listening to everybody, I just wanted to go on the record. I started this crusade about 2 months ago. I started the Flooded in Flagler Facebook page, woke up the next morning and had 108 people in the town having the same problem. The only person I've heard back from is Ed and Ms. Ponteri. 2 or 3 times she's responded back to me. I still haven't heard from anybody to come look at my house. Not a phone call, not a message, nothing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else in the audience want to address City Council at this time?
Good morning. My name is Darlene Shelley. I live at 84 Arena Lake Drive in Hidden Lakes. And I just wanted to bring to your attention some of the recent traffic problems we've been having on Old Kings Road in front of our community. The most recent was October 31st, which was Halloween, and there was 3 extremely serious crashes on I-95 between the Palm Coast exits, and one was a fatality, but the ensuing traffic that came from the aftermath of those accidents stopped up traffic on both Belterre and Old Kings Road. In fact, it was gridlock. Traffic was backed up northbound all the way to State Road 100 and southbound from Palm Coast Parkway all the way down to the light at Town Center. So the homeowners could not get out of our development, and this was the entire day. It even affected our trick-or-treaters because no one could come to our community, which has sidewalks on both sides and has been very popular with the children. It's very safe. We had very few trick-or-treaters because the parents couldn't get through the traffic. I just wanted to bring it up to you because it's a very serious issue and it affects our safety and our health and our welfare for the residents in both Toscana and Hidden Lakes. And incredibly dangerous situation for emergency vehicles when they can't get through on a 2-lane road with no way to get around, 2 lanes of traffic. So I just wanted to make you aware of that and to keep that in mind before approving any more zone changes or huge complexes on the 2-lane road of Old Kings. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else this morning? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment. City Manager, I think you have a note on each of the speakers today, and we'll get back to each one of them on our plan moving forward. Again, just make sure that we have your contact information so that you can be responded to properly.
Excuse me,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor. I just have a question from
Yep.
our city manager, just like an update on where we are with that task force.
So the task force that was actually recommended by a citizen at one of the previous council meetings has been formed. That task force is an internal group of professionals with the expertise to evaluate each of these cases on a one-on-one basis. They're also charged with looking at our regulations, working with stakeholders that would be affected by any decisions we make on specifically infill lots. And furthermore, we have created a special case process through our Palm Coast Connect customer portal that we're tracking these uniquely, so we're making sure that they don't get diluted into other cases that we're managing through stormwater as well.
Have we given any, someone mentioned this just now, have we given any thought to adding some citizens to this task force?
So right now, we want to make sure that we're evaluating on a technical level. And once we have some outcomes, we would be more than happy to invite the public to bring them up to speed and then also talk about next steps. At this time, we're very much on a technical level with the expertise of stormwater, building division, all those stakeholders internally that have the oversight on these matters first. We don't want to bring in the public until we are soundly positioned on what is happening with these lots.
Do we have a time frame?
Well, as we continue to get cases and we address existing cases as referenced by members of the public today, that takes time, right? So visiting the resident that spoke that they have an appointment to come out tomorrow. That takes time scheduling it. So I don't have a time frame on where that next step is, because we have to make sure that we address these one-on-one thoroughly.
So we're going to be sending people out to each of these individual
That is
homes,
correct.
Is that correct?
That
Because
is correct.
I don't know about anyone else here, but it seems like every other day I'm getting another home emailed to me, and I want to make sure, you know, that we address every single person, you know, specifically, and go take a look.
That is what we're doing, yes, Vice Mayor.
My other question was, presently, we apparently have no sort of, any sort of regulation on how much fill can be used. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
So please clarify that.
So we have unique lots, right, that drain differently, meaning, are you a corner lot? Are you back-to-back on a quarter-acre lot? Those type of areas. I would say as well, the drainage has to work depending on the unique conditions of the property and the surrounding areas. The companion to that argument is that we have one of the most robust floodplain management programs in the nation. We rank actually in the top 1% of how we're aggressively looking at stormwater problems. And if you build in a special flood hazard area, that's a FEMA designation, you're regulated by a different set of rules by how much fill goes on your property and the minimal elevations on your property. So you have to look at this on a case-by-case basis of those baseline criterias before you talk about elevation generally.
Okay, but we're seeing clearly that's not working. It's not working for a lot of people. And I think we really need to move quicker on this. And I know it's hard, but these folks have all experienced a bad situation. And every day we're being contacted by more and more people. And it's just something I think needs to be such a super priority for us to deal with. We have so many empty lots still left in our city, and we can't allow this to happen to anyone else. So I'm not quite sure what we could do at this moment, but I sure would like to hear some suggestions.
Well, Vice Mayor, I think you made the point. That's not the theme of today's meeting. We certainly consider it a priority. You made the suggestion that perhaps perhaps you might want to bring forward at our next meeting the origination of a task force or an advisory committee that would have all of the appropriate members present. Now, you're not just talking about residents, you would need to be talking about engineers, you'd be talking about planning staff, you'd also need to be talking about the Home Builders Association. So if you're going to do something, it should be done right, and I would welcome your suggestion to put together that committee at the next meeting, let's say. I would think that over the last 60 days, because to my recollection, there was no mention of this of any kind more than 60 days ago, I think you do have to allow for staff to collect the facts and the data before we, work through social media so that we have the correct information so that we could move a task force forward and come to a solution which will solve all of these problems, not just for today, but going forward as well. Because as you mentioned, we're still in the infill situation. We have just approximately 8,000 lots left, and we would probably want to do something, one, to help those folks that are in a current situation, but also how we might look to the future, because every one of those 8,000 lots represents a different engineering formulation.
Oh, absolutely, and that is correct, and we do want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying now, though, is as we're forming this task force, putting experts in, but I think we have to make sure the public has a little more involvement as quickly as
we agree. Okay.
I just have a question.
Yep.
To kind of piggyback, could you clarify, are stakeholders already involved with this task force?
So one of the primary stakeholders that we have an incredibly strong relationship with is the Home Builders Association. So working with that communication and feedback, I haven't been briefed on the outcome of that meeting. I know staff had a meeting while I was on vacation visiting family. But that's one of we want to make sure we're very methodical about how we coordinate this. And Lauren, I'm going to put you on the spot because I think you had a briefing last week.
Yes, our staff met with the HBA at their government affairs. We gave them a draft review of the technical manual that we were already working on updating. So they have those comments. It was the Thanksgiving holiday, so we haven't received feedback yet, but they do have a draft of our updated technical manual.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I have a problem with that, because I feel like we're involving the HBA, who has a vested interest in taking the easier path, the most cost-efficient path, which they're business people, that's their job. Our job is to protect the residents. So my concern is that we're going to the HBA and asking for their input, rather than relying on staff technical input and expertise. And so I guess what I'm hoping and what I'm actually requesting is that this be transparent, that the draft that we've given to the HBA be made available to City Council if they so choose, if my colleagues so choose, that we see HBA's proposed edits and the reasons therefore, and then we have the ability to look and see whether or not those proposed edits are because it makes their job easier and more cost efficient, or because it is actually better for the residents.
And I appreciate that, council member, but what I really want to kind of pierce through the conversation is that we also want to understand what happens on the bottom line, right? How this affects the bottom line of our future residents. So it's not that we're getting their buy-in per se, but their feedback and the results of that. So we man this ship. We're owning this conversation. But we feel that any time that there's an effect on the code or anything like that, we look at the stakeholders that are primarily affected. And that's also our future residents or anyone that could be affected. And by no means are we dismissing the public in this. As these cases are coming to us, and the first one that we heard of was 98 Birchwood, was that we prioritized and we made sure that each resident is touched during this process. So I appreciate the comment. That's not our intention to have them drive the conversation. It's how we treat any kind of code changes as we work through stakeholders, just as we did with the sign code of going directly to the Realtors Association and getting feedback on that. This is just part of that process.
And I appreciate that, and I do recognize staff's efforts in meeting with homeowners, and I know we talk about this almost daily, so I do appreciate it, and I don't want it to go unrecognized. I just want it to be a fully transparent process, because we have a problem that our residents are feeling, and rather than involving them at the same time as HBA, we've gone to HBA first. And I understand the methodology of that, but I want it to be transparent so that it doesn't appear, there's no appearance of impropriety along with that process. And I think that that's what's needed.
So I think that's a restatement. I mean, every committee that I'm aware of that the City of Palm Coast City Council works with is transparent in the sunshine and is available to the public. I mean,
Well, but Mayor, respectfully, if this hadn't, if
committee
this
hasn't been formed
conversation-
yet.
If this conversation weren't brought up, I wouldn't have known about it. I don't think any of us would have known that.
The committee hasn't been formed yet.
I understand that, Mayor. What I'm asking is for updates along the way, so
Okay.
that we can be informed during this process of what's going on, when, and who all is involved.
Okay, so I think you've got a vice mayor who's said he's willing to put forward that we would create the committee, that the committee will be formed, and then, yeah.
Whoa. We already have a task force. I don't think we need another committee on top of it.
Well, I hear
I think we need to.
I think your fellow council member said that the task force may be incomplete in its attendees.
And what I think we need to do is involve the public more with that task force. And I think a good thing, and if we could reach a consensus, because I think Ms. Pontieri is absolutely correct, we need to be kept a little more in the loop. If we could get a weekly update from our city manager on where that task force is, how many people they have visited, who else have they been discussing this with, and what are the suggestions, whatever, just a weekly update to us on council, which obviously would be available to the public, I think would go a long way.
So I would ask you to put a note in your weekly city manager's report, okay?
And that actually is already put in place.
Right.
So you receive that weekly.
So we will be getting a weekly update
You do now.
specifically on the task force?
You do now.
Because I did not see it before.
It's in the last few pages of the city manager's weekly report, but we have added a custom report, so it'll be simplified with the address and the status And Mayor, if I can, also in our technical staff meeting that we talked about last week was we will be giving council an update during your stormwater update meetings that you already have scheduled.
So look to your city manager's report that comes out every Thursday.
Friday.
Sorry. And I think that for the public's information, I think you can see from every member or city council member that this is a priority for every city council member. Okay?
Absolutely is.
Very good.
I do have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I absolutely agree and feel that the public would like to be more involved with the task force so that they know firsthand what is going on and be involved there. And also, I would just like to know how many cases are we dealing with at this point, if you have a count on that.
I can answer that question. So I just pulled out the report, and that you'll receive as stated in the weekly report. We have 26 cases.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will be following up with each of those folks that spoke today, and you can follow the progress as we prioritize this issue for the public. All right, we now move to the next item on the agenda. This is the reason that I called today's meeting. So the attorney for the city of Palm Coast has properly notified the city that their organization is changing, and therefore that will necessitate a change on the part of our city council. So for those of you that aren't aware, the city attorney is one of the two responsibilities that reports directly to city council. The current contract or agreement with our current attorney's firm is available to you. It's available online, of course. And what we've done is we've asked the firm to come forward and kind of describe where we are and explain what's happening with the firm. The goal of today's meeting is to specifically give staff direction on what the very next step is to ensure that the city of Palm Coast is legally protected throughout this transitionary period. So with that, I would ask Lauren if you would kind of do the intro and then introduce our guest.
Sure. Lauren Johnston, Assistant City Manager. I have provided you a brief presentation, very high level, on the city charter and some options as far as next steps. Joining me here is Mr. Garganese with our current firm that represents us. So I'm going to jump right into our slides. This is the current language in the city charter as charter officers, Section 3, City Attorney. This provides City Council the guidance of whether or not you would want to have in-house coverage or if you would want to prepare operations with a contractual firm. Any questions on the city charter?
Is everybody familiar with the charter? I think we all are. Yes? Okay. No, we don't have any questions on the charter itself.
This is a slide giving you some specific language about what is in our current contract. We have had a legal services, continuing services agreement with Garganese, Weiss, Teague, Gresta, and Salzman since 2008, 2009. The law indicated in the contract, the law firm will designate one city attorney to serve as the designated individual per our city charter. In previous past, it was attorney Mr. William Reichman and then Ms. Nasa Borkert. These are general duties of just specifically the city attorney and what services that have been provided to us on a day-to-day basis. And in what is also indicated in our current retainer. Any questions on that? Okay. Now, also within our legal services agreement is not only the day-to-day, but also some specialized legal services that the firm provides to us. A lot of these are community development in particular. They also serve as a representative with our PLDRB. Code enforcement, they handle all of our animal control cases. And then also anything to do with real estate, land management, easements. And then they also provide services for personnel or human resources.
So just to make it really simple for me, you've got two, we're from a 30,000 foot level, you're breaking down the services that we pay for into two broad groups. Can you just help me understand? One group is man bites dog, and that's the kind of stuff that happens every day. And then you've got, if you could just help me a little bit more with what are the specialized services and why do we not rely on our day-to-day legal assistance for those?
Mayor, maybe I can kind of clarify it. Okay, so,
This is more for the public, I'm
Sure,
asking.
sure. So when we say specialized legal services, those are day-to-day operations. Those just aren't the ones that I, as your designated city attorney, the person that sits up here with you, does on a day-to-day basis. We have other attorneys at our firm, one that does animal control matters, one that does PLDRB, community development matters. Now, of course, there's always crossover. I do community development matters when they come up, when they're gonna come up before you to prepare myself and on different things. Code enforcement, we have an attorney that does code enforcement in our office. We have a real estate attorney. So those things happen on a daily basis. They're just not, we're calling them specialized because it's not specifically what I do for you on a day-to-day basis. I generally advise you when you call me, prepare for meetings, review contracts, prepare ordinances, you know, all those other things.
So you're meeting-centric. Most of what you do spins out of our meeting agenda and actual meetings. Okay, so specialized is probably not a good term to use.
Yeah, it's just not, it's ones that we can put in a category, I guess. We can say animal control, we can say code enforcement, we can
Right.
say community development, we can say those departments. And then as far as the contract goes, in our current contract, all of those services are included in the retainer. When we get outside the retainer, it's limited. It's when there's litigation on a matter that your insurance doesn't handle. It's when there's a real estate closing, and we have to do a real estate closing. Those are a couple of the instances where we bill outside of the retainer. They're more rare, although I will say in the past year, animal control, we've had a lot of animal cases that have been appealed that we've had to litigate for you. Also land use appeals too, those are outside because your insurer doesn't cover that. So I hope I cleared that up without making more questions.
The splash pad is outside, right?
Obviously, yeah, that's construction litigation, that's not even something that we're handled, that you all have, you know, and I was talking about that with Denise, like, what are some things that we go, that we don't handle, and that's like construction litigation. We used to have a construction litigator at our firm, but he left a number of years ago. Labor negotiations, you know, you always hire out for labor negotiations, you know, if you have a pension law attorney that you've hired out, and then special assessments, setting up a special assessment district and doing the methodology that's required. You guys haven't been involved in setting one of those up, but typically the city has went outside to get outside counsel to set that up. Chris Rowe is the
I'm just trying to get kind of a top-level idea as we begin to march forward into a scope in terms of what we're looking for, just so that more so that the public understands that. Okay, very good.
Sure.
And Mr. Garganese, I'm not sure if you wanted to jump in here and identify any type of transition plan or, you know, just your thoughts from the firm for next steps.
So, if I may, Anthony, if you would, first of all, your firm has been representing the city, if I'm correct, for almost 17 years.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so that represents a surprise, big change for us right now. If you could just very briefly tell us where your firm is at, and then if you kind of jump into what you're committed to do to ensure the legal requirements of the city are well attended during however long this process of transition might take.
Right, certainly. The firm, my name is Anthony Garganese, and our firm has had the pleasure of representing the city of Palm Coast for 17 years. And as noted, Mr. Reichman has served the city attorney for 15 years, and NASA for the last year has taken over as city attorney as part of our transition plan. NASA is moving on to an in-house position and going in a different direction. So our firm does soup to nuts practically for the city of Palm Coast. We can continue. We surround the city attorney with a lot of qualified attorneys that are board certified in city, county, local government law, business litigation, civil trial, appellate practice. All of these team members surround the city attorney and provide a variety of different services. The function of the city attorney, as NASA indicated, is the day-to-day matters dealing primarily with the city council and everything that involves. And you have a very robust meeting schedule on Tuesdays. So the firm at this stage is not in a position to provide the city attorney day-to-day services in dealing with the council's robust schedule. With that said, I mean, we have all of our other attorneys that will continue during this transition period, or as how long the city of Palm Coast wants, to provide those categorized specialty legal services. It's just the day-to-day, being with the city council on practically every Tuesday and dealing with those types of demands where long-term we're not in a position to continue to do.
Okay. If I may, just help me with this. I'm not sure whether it's the soup or the nuts, but most of what you do for us is handled by attorneys which are a part of your firm.
Correct.
Most. Can you give me a percentage, time-wise? Is it 90%? Is it 50%? Is it handled by attorneys that are a part of your firm? And the reason I'm asking, to help me understand what we might be looking for going forward.
We did an analysis based off the past 2 years of invoices that we've received, and the average staff, staffing, it was between 5 to 9.
Outside of firm members?
Including NASA, including other members in the firm. What the firm was providing for services to us was between 5 to 9 staff members.
In the firm?
In the firm.
So you're doing it on a body count, not in terms of billable hours? Okay.
And that's the team that surrounds the city attorney.
Okay. And Anthony, if I may, in your universe, how many firms do what you do?
I mean, there are a significant number of firms that do local government law statewide. I mean, we're not the only one by any stretch of the imagination.
Let me rephrase it, because I was under the impression that we have a rather limited universe to draw from when we talk about regional proximity.
And regional proximity, 3 to 6.
Okay, again, I'm just trying to set the parameters here on what City Council is going to have to do in terms of giving staff direction going forward. Okay. Now, if you would, just for a moment, if you could share your firm's intentions regarding matters that are currently either, and I'll just use the word, in process, or perhaps those that may arise during this undefined period of transition right now. Can you help me with that a little bit?
Certainly. We'll work with NASA as she transitions out of the firm to make sure that all of the matters that she's working on are either completed before she leaves or will be picked up by another lawyer in my firm, including myself, to make sure that the city's legal services are met. And then our plan would be then to transition after she leaves. We will staff the city council meetings with an attorney, including myself. It'll be alternating, and we will continue to work on the legal service demands for the city until you all determine what is in your best interest. And we fully support whatever decision the city council wants to make because it's your decision to make regarding what you think is in the best interest.
And I don't know if I'm premature in asking this question, but based on 17 years of collection or working together or whatever, does your firm remain available to us for the mid to longer term as a resource to be defined because of the institutional knowledge that you have acquired over time? It's just a question.
I mean, certainly. I mean, we would make ourselves available to help, with the transition and whatever that to-be-defined role is, if any, that the council wants to, contract with us. I mean,
So that conversation is good, okay.
that would be an ongoing conversation, Mayor, and, our firm's not going anywhere in the local government arena.
Okay.
It's just a matter of dealing with your robust Tuesday night schedules or day schedules. That's
Right, and just for a point of reference for the public and those that are listening, and your firm is actually located physically where?
in downtown Orlando.
Okay, very good.
Mayor, if
Let's
I
stop
could-
here, yeah.
If I could just follow up, so I have an ongoing list of all my current assignments. I have meetings set up on some of the ordinances that I've already drafted and completed that are upcoming for you. I have meetings set up with a couple of the attorneys in my firm to make sure that they're brought up to speed on the catalyst for them and the projects that are ongoing. Denise and I have made a list together as to what those items look like and the things that I'm gonna wrap up before I leave. And then, of course, before I go, anything that's coming to you that I won't be here for, those attorneys that are attending that meeting that will be shepherding that issue will be briefed on that matter. So that's already started. It's happening. I actually have a meeting later today on the floating vessel platforms ordinance. Councilmember Pontieri.
Can you
So-
just give us a quick, email us all a quick list of what those items are?
I can, sure.
That would be
Yeah,
great, just
yeah.
so we know.
I'm gonna try to work through, I've already been working through many of them, but I can email you a list once that's kind of complete.
Yeah, no rush, but just so we know
Sure.
what you're working on and what needs to be
Well,
wrapped up.
I challenge you on the no rush. For me, I don't know, what is your last day? Just to give us a timeline.
December 15th.
Okay, so.
No rush.
Yes. And I'm not trying to.
Already been working on it, yes,
I
don't
just
worry.
want to underscore the reason for today's meeting, and again, I appreciate your taking the time, is that it is pretty quick, and I want to make sure that it is something that we are dealing with as much time as we have.
So I just want to clarify something. I just have a question. You folks have no intention of hiring another person to replace her for this position. Is that correct?
We do not have any intention to do that at this time, due to the complexity of serving as city attorney for Palm Coast. I mean, to be able to find the right fit, both for the firm and the city, it would be quite a challenge.
Okay.
Congratulations, Nasa. I think the term that they're looking for is irreplaceable. Very good, very good.
So
Touche.
there are more assumptions going forward than we could possibly evaluate at this time. So let me suggest this for debate among City Council, if I may. And then you all may have something else that you'd like to throw out there. The simplest path forward in my mind is to instruct staff to prepare an RFP, which you all would have to approve, that would identify or locate a firm which does exactly what our current firm does, for the purpose of finding out if such a firm exists. Now, that's very simple, so please comment back to me on where the holes are in that concept.
I don't think there's any holes in that concept. I think the one thing we have to decide, and that concept may decide it for us, is if we put it out to bid and a great firm comes along and it's got everything we want and the price is right, that would be fabulous, right? And we just make a nice smooth transition. We may find that more difficult than we imagine, which would then have to bring it back to us, and we may have to look at other options like hiring our own in-house attorney, which would probably require a couple of additional staff members. I'm neither here nor there on that point yet, on what would be better, but I'm certainly willing to put this out to bid to see if we get any sort of, response at all. I would maybe suggest a 60-day process, possibly, a 30-day process. I'm open to suggestions on that, but I'm no opposition. I'm just afraid we may have a hard time finding that, and then we'll have to deal with it from another level.
Councilwoman?
I agree. I think that we should put out an RFP and try to get an all-inclusive local government specialized firm. I don't, being that I have even, albeit temporarily, an in-house counsel, you are limited in what you can do. There's just so much that falls under this umbrella of everything that NASA and the law firm does for us. I think that we do need a very robust firm that actually specializes in all of these things, and I don't think we'll be able to get that with in-house counsel. So I agree, I think that's the better way to go. Hopefully that'll be successful. In the meantime, I hope our current firm will continue to help in these other specialized areas so that we're not having to kind of fill all of these gaps at once.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Hyder?
I also agree that we should put out a request for a proposal. But in the meantime, it is a great idea that the council that we have now stay on board until we can come to a decision about how we intend to move forward.
Councilman Clufus?
Yep. First, I just want to say thank you for representing our city so successfully over the past, 17 years. It's been a privilege, and we've always had tremendous parliamentarians. I think NASA is a tremendous example of that. I think having the expertise and the robust capabilities of a firm such as yours is in the best interest of the city. So I'm on board with the line of thought, thinking, let's see what we can get. But I think at the end of the day, like it has been said before, that we need to have the most robust opportunity for our city to be successful in terms of cross-section of lawyer.
Now, Ms. Johnson, I would go directly to you. I would need to hear, or I'd like to hear, what specific details you will recommend be written into the RFP. In other words, I want to offer you as much direction as staff to make the best attempt at this first phase as we can.
So what I'm hearing is that city staff needs to develop a scope based off of our previous contract and include the specialized services, all the services that are typically rendered in a robust firm. And we would need to include qualifications such as being specialized in city and county local government. We could prepare that for you for a next business meeting, and then once approval of the scope, then we would advertise that and go through our process. I did put a timeline on here, a recommended bid period of 21 to 45 days. Ultimately, City Council would review the bids. You would be scoring and evaluating, and then presentations would be required or requested as far as next steps. So we are looking at between 21 and 45 days.
It sounds reasonable. Council members, can you?
Yeah,
did you have something
go
to
ahead
say?
first, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, so as you all know, as Lauren started, the charter position is just like when you hired the city manager, you all make the decision. So it would be, Lauren's right, getting all the bids back, and then probably calling a special meeting to review them, setting up, if you want to talk to people from the firm, setting up interviews with them, so we can, and obviously we'll assist in setting up the RFP and then laying out the process for you of how it's going to go. So maybe 20 to 45 days is a little bit, I don't know that would include like scheduling the meeting too and review to the end.
So we can adjust as we go along, obviously. But I just want to make sure as bids come in, you get those to us rather than just waiting and dumping them on us at once. Get us each a copy, because we may want to look at the firm, we may want to ask some questions.
Yes, Vice Mayor, it's very similar to how City Council selects the auditor. So you do the ranking and the scoring, and it's in our procurement portal, Bonfire. So yes, you will get those as they come in.
So I just have a couple more quick questions, and hopefully this works out, but if it doesn't work out and we go back to the, we should hire we'll have to hire an in-house counsel. Your firm would still be available for all those specialty services, correct? If we had our own in-house counsel?
Yes, sir.
And do you represent any municipalities that have an in-house counsel that you work with?
No, we do special counsel work, but we, not on a regular basis, on a project basis, but then we work with in-house lawyers.
You do work with in-house in other cities? Is what I'm
Yes,
asking.
special counsel,
Yeah.
doing specialized work.
And I take it that works fine, it's for everyone? Yeah, I'm just
Not an issue
concerned
with
that
it
we
in
may
30
end up
years.
coming back to that scenario. And if we do, we should know as much about it as we can. I'd suggest to everyone here, have a conversation with the county's attorney, who I know personally, I'm sure you all do. See how it's working for the county if we find ourselves in that situation. But I think we go forward with this first and see what happens.
Yeah, and then we'll look back.
Yeah.
Councilwoman, can you help? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that staff understands what we're looking for so that the scope and the RFP is as effective and efficient as it could be.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that, like you said, Lauren, that it just be very robust. The last thing we want is to have to go outside of whatever firm we do hire to then have to, pay extra for other specialty services. So the more robust and I think breadth of experience that we can find in the firm, the better. My other question too was, do we have a geographical area that our RFP will reach? Because it seems, if this firm is out of downtown Orlando, I don't want us to be limited by a small geographical reach.
So one idea would be that we work with the Florida League of Cities and get the qualifications from the Florida bar that associates in city and county, and then through Bonfire you can directly invite all of those people, firms, individuals, etc. And so then they are aware of the current bid opening.
Because ideally a firm would be local, but I don't know that we'll get that unicorn. So.
Yeah. Could you get that lucky, right?
Right.
There's also a local government listserv that most municipal firms and attorneys are part of, and they put job postings on those all the time when someone's looking for special counsel or an attorney or a firm to serve as a city attorney. And also, actually about a year ago, I prepared a comprehensive list of all the city attorney duties that our firm does. So we have this, I brought extra copies if anybody wants one, but we have this as a basis to include in the RFP to make sure we're kind of checking all the boxes.
May I ask, it's more curiosity, Anthony, I don't want to know how many clients you have. Where do we rank in terms of size in your list of clients? And I'm asking because that helps me understand a little better what I'm looking for.
The significant size client.
We are.
Right.
Okay.
With a lot of demands.
Okay, got it, very good. Councilwoman Hyder, any other particulars that would be helpful to staff?
No comment at this time, thank you.
Councilman Clufus.
Nope, I think my comments are in line with everybody else. The greater the locale of the attorney, probably the higher chance for success, but at the same time, the propensity of that lawyer unicorn to exist dwindles the closer proximity we have to Palm Coast. So making sure that we can attract the best candidate from wherever it necessitates, I think is important, but I have no other comment.
Okay, Vice Mayor, if you like, if you have consensus, if you'd like to invite Mr. Hadid to come and talk to us at a workshop within this framework.
Right.
That, if you like that, I don't know why we couldn't extend that invitation.
I think that's a good idea down the road if we don't get the response from this that we're looking for.
Or even, it might even be helpful to get his comments if you're all agreeable. I'm not trying to push that, but.
Yeah, I think the more advice we can get if we find ourselves.
Is everybody okay with that? So, City Manager, if you would extend that invitation.
What does Bunnell do? Do we know?
They have a firm.
They have a firm?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so does Flagler Beach.
Flagler
They have a
Beach.
firm out of Orlando also.
Do we need to make a motion or do we just need a consensus?
So, yeah, hold on one second. So I'll do public comment after. after the motion?
Yeah, we're at a workshop, so
Yeah,
there's
so-
no
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a
public
workshop,
comment,
so no
yeah.
public comment, right, I'm sorry. And no motion. So, staff, do you have the direction that you need, and on what day will we see the product?
So I'm going to do my best to make sure that it is in your agenda packet for the 12/5 meeting.
Excellent,
Since
okay.
time is of the essence and a sense of urgency, we will have that draft RFP. No, we can't do that. No, sorry.
It's gonna have to be the, well, we could do it at a workshop, and you could look over it and, give consensus that it should go out. Or we could do the 12/19 meeting,
So
if you want a motion and a second to move forward. I don't know that you necessarily need an official motion and second to move forward, just to send the RFP out. I mean, absolutely to hire, but just to send the RFP out, you may be able to look at it at the
So I'm
workshop.
asking for consensus, each one of you, to move forward to send that out at the earliest date possible, right?
No, I think to bring the proposed RFP back at a workshop.
I'm sorry, to bring it to the workshop to be approved, and then we can talk about it again. So do I have consensus from unanimity here? I think I do. Is that correct?
Lauren, is that okay with you, or?
yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's just going to delay another week, right? So instead of talking about it at the business meeting, you would just wait till the following workshop.
I think that's going to be necessary to put the time necessary on getting closer to a finished product.
Yeah, because
Okay.
the better prepared you are when we get down to candidates, it should make it easier, because this is no small challenge.
Okay, so we will prepare the draft RFP package for the city council workshop on 12/12 to include experience in the qualifications, work with the Florida League of Cities on their government listservs and trying to reach as many people as possible. I'll see if our procurement team has a review of Bonfire. It might have been a while since you guys have gone on there and utilized the platform, so just familiarizing yourself with that procurement portal, and then we'll go from there.
Very good. And Anthony, I would, on behalf of City Council, first of all, I appreciate your coming over today.
Pleasure.
I appreciate your offer to make sure that we stay whole during the process. And number three, I would be remiss if I didn't thank you and your firm. I'll thank NASA separately, but on the many years of service and the fact that we have been able to get from way back then to where we are today. So I would like to personally thank you for that service over such a long timeline. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Very good. Any other final comments from city council members?
On this item? None
On
from
this
me.
item, yes. So, yeah.
As a colleague, sort
Yes.
of, I want to thank you very much for everything you've done. I know my analytical mind can be a lot to satisfy, and you've always been very responsive and thorough. So is the firm, by the way, the support staff from the firm has been fantastic. Really, really thorough on some of the unique legal issues that we've had come up. So I greatly appreciate you, and I wish you best of luck. Thank you very much.
I think we all second that, and when you put the bar at a high enough level, that's what gives me the sleeplessness and the agita, because Anthony, if you're struggling to find good quality folks, you can imagine I'm going to have the same problem. So we share that. So appreciate that, and that's a testimonial to Councilwoman, as you said, to NASA putting that bar up there for us. So thank you for that. All right, with that, I will close out this item on the agenda, and then I will open up the meeting for public participation on matters that were not a part of today's presentation.
Celia Puglisi, Palm Coast, since 1991. I don't understand, Mr. Mayor, it was brought about the fact of the way that the city runs the meetings, right? And it was mentioned before and I don't know where it stands really, that people wanted to speak on days like today, on workshops after the items. I don't know if that was changed, it's being planned
So
to be
let me help you with
changed.
that. It is for discussion. It has not been voted on yet, but it's coming up on a close-in agenda.
Yeah, we're
We just
making
we haven't voted on it yet.
Okay, one other thing. You said I was not allowed to speak of an item on the agenda, right?
Say it again.
You said I am not allowed to speak on an item on today's agenda.
No, you can speak on it, you just can't speak on something you previously spoke about.
Oh, no, no, oh, no,
Right.
okay. It's important for us, and I appreciate your services of our attorney. It is important to us that a future attorney will have some expertise in land development. Even the terrible growth that is so overwhelming, that is presented here for approval for rezonings, spot zoning, and special exemptions that we are very negatively affected for, to you. Things are presented by administrators to this council almost pre-approved, with the fact that if we, the people, that you represent the people, if you, with the people, don't say yes, we're going to be sued. It is a yes or a no for approval, and everybody has to consider that. And we need the advice of an attorney that is always a good knowledge litigator in land development. And I know that the residents, unfortunately, had to use once against our city successfully, and we hope we don't have to use another one because it's very expensive and very unfair on us. So in order to avoid those things, it is interesting that any future attorney have an in-depth knowledge of land development, because the things that are presented for you to approve to us, and we read documents, have violations of our city chart, like the PSP lots approved for 5G towers, requested for 5G towers. They should have never been placed there by planners, and some other rezonings, spot zonings, and the like. So we will appreciate that. That will be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Davis, and I live at 66 Parati Lane. I have emailed Councilman Danko about coming out to my property to look at 62 Parati Lane, and the same builder built 60 Parati Lane. And the problem I have is one is way higher than all of us. I don't care that they're building in this city, but do it with sense. This past little rainstorm, I was here at the last meeting. They came and made it look somewhat presentable from the road because this is evidently a big issue. So the builder smoothed it out, made it look presentable. This last little rainstorm, more erosion has happened, and nothing is happening. They put up 2 silt fences to keep their erosion from eroding onto my property. Takes 2. So when they take those silt fences up, what's gonna happen? Common sense tells you it's gonna come onto my property without a retaining wall, some type of drainage. Nobody is saying they're gonna do anything. They're just pushing us off to the side. We need to take action and quit wasting time on coming up with some type of proposal, because if you, common sense says if you raise land here, the water's gonna go here. It's called gravity, correct? I mean, I'm using common sense here. You're not worried about my property, right? And I'm not worried about your property because it has no effect on me, just like my property has no effect on you, just like their properties. It has no effect. But until it has effect on you, that's when y'all will take action. So I'm gonna start putting my actions into effect because my words mean something. And when I say I do something, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna find out what it takes to make this common sense. I mean, y'all could easily write an ordinance and say, well, y'all cannot raise the land anymore, right? I mean, it's a simple task, but y'all want to waste our time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? All right, with that, I'll close public comment And I will ask if there are city council members that have anything specific today.
Just want to, I'm sure our city manager already has that last person who spoke, that property is on your list now, if not before.
Well, I see right now that the speaker is
Yeah.
providing a comment card, so that is really the most
So
important part to
we'll
give
get
that
someone out there
information.
to take a look, that's the first step.
I did that last time, and still no one has done anything.
And can I
Go ahead.
address a member of the
Go ahead.
public? So it takes some time to work through our queue, so I apologize that we haven't made point of contact with you directly at this point, but we are working through the caseload.
You said 26, right? That's a big caseload?
Well, okay. Are there any other comments from city council
No
members?
comments for me.
Just really quickly, I do want to, just to honor Mr. Sims Jones, who passed away. He was a very important member of this community, gave a lot back to the community. He unfortunately did pass, and so I just want to send condolences and prayers for peace for him and his family.
Same here, I'd like to send condolences to Pastor Sims and his family.
I'm with that. Pastor Sims has been my friend for a better part of 8 years, so rip.
I had the good fortune yesterday of visiting the African American Cultural Society ribbon cutting for a Smithsonian exhibit regarding baseball. And I have to tell you, it was more than enlightening to see how such an activity that we take for granted every day could have had, does, and will always have such a uniting effect with regard to diversity and cultures and on and on. Obviously, if you get a chance, go see it. But this is the second, and we are first up, no pun intended, to have this Smithsonian exhibit here in our area. So I thank them, and if you get a chance, be aware of it. I will also make one other quick comment, and this I will parlay again in our future meetings. I'm hearing the word simple. I'm hearing the word common sense. Not have I heard anybody speak about the engineering regarding fluid mechanics and gravity and how water flows according to grade. We will get there, but I want to make sure that we all don't think that this is some simply solved issue. This is an issue which has been brewing for, and it does require a lot of data collection to make sure that we get it right. And for sure, there is not going to be a one solution fits all. That's the complication of the problem, but we have made it a priority amongst all of us here on City Council today that it has all of our attention until we find a solution that is acceptable to the residents of the city. That's it. That's all I have to say. With that, I would move to City Attorney. Now, you better choose your words carefully because they will be few and far between going forward. It's my right to abuse you a little bit here on
I have absolutely
on the
nothing.
waning days of your service. You have none?
I have absolutely nothing.
Very good. All right. City Manager.
I know we have future meetings with NASA here on the dais, but I just can't miss a moment just to say a huge thank you to you, the firm that has supported us for so many years. Definitely is a treasure for us that we're going to be unfortunately losing. But NASA, you're amazing. I wish you nothing but the best for moving forward.
Thank you very much, Denise. I'll reserve my comments for my last
I figured
meeting.
you probably, all right. With that, then I will have a motion to adjourn the meeting. I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all very much for taking the time today. Appreciate you all.